Hey, welcome to Under the Surface. I'm Levi Polzin at Levi Wonder on Instagram, and today I'm going to show you how to draw this Hannya mask. All right, let's get into it. All right, today I'm going to try and run through just some layout stuff of kind of how I generally approach a Hannya mask. I'm going to start off by making myself a couple layers just so I have a couple. Work with a red pencil and a Nardiar pencil. I'm going to just start off with building some forms and shapes. I think I'm going to go kind of 3/4-ish. Go a bit beefier here with the pencil. Yeah, it's a little too much. There's that. We'll do kind of a front face line. This. So yeah, I'm just starting to build up kind of essentially like how I know I'm gonna lay it out a little bit. Some of this isn't quite right, so we're just going to kind of move things a little bit as we go. Yeah, I like to grid out. Sorry if I'm moving stuff around here. I like to grid out stuff quite a bit, just because I feel like if you're not using reference, which we're not right here right now, then it's really nice to have some sort of grid that's, going to showcase where kind of stuff goes. Meaning, you got to build the figure. You kind of got to look at it like sculpture in a way. Move this over a little bit. It's just a little off. There we go. So that's kind of how I almost look at like you're like sculpting the general figure and getting your shapes in there far before you even try and get the cool stuff. Everybody always wants to draw the cool stuff first, and as someone who like grew up on comic books, I am no different in that regard. I really, God, I don't know how many things I've drawn where I just tried to draw, especially in my younger years, where I tried to draw just the coolest thing right away, the coolest aspect, start with, whatever it was, and then ended up being pretty unhappy in the long run with how things were kind of turning out, because you're just like, oh, this isn't looking anything like I want it to look. Because I really had no idea about the forms of things. I really think it's important to understand form before you go and just try and make things stylistically cool. And I feel like I bring that home quite a bit on this channel, and no one really taught me that when I was first learning how to tattoo. It wasn't until years later, and I was working with my friend Shane, till I had somebody basically tell me, like, hey, maybe try and do this first before you go and try and make everything as cool as possibly can be. And that really opened up a lot of things for me once I realized, like, oh, I don't need to make this the coolest thing ever right in this exact second. I just need to understand kind of where it's coming from. Like what shapes, like why is that cheek going to be like that? Why am I drawing it like that when instead of a different way? So here's kind of a general sketch that I'm, for the most part, I like some of the forms. I'm probably going to edit some of it. Mainly I can already see this eye looks a little low in the cheekbone. Probably what I'm going to do here is just take this, and you can go into like kind of your editing tool here, and you can freehand it and you can cut out stuff. And I do this quite a bit, where I'll just cut out an area that I know seems off, and then you can hit your arrow move select tool and then just move that kind of into position more of where you think it should be. So I think it should be kind of a little bit more there. And then it's like I like the general shapes that I had going there, but the overall the placement was off, so no need to completely throw away the whole sketch. There was things that worked for sure. So I'm going to take this and we're just going to lower the opacity to more than half and then go on a new layer. I'm going to use a different color too, just so I can really highlight it and see it around a lot of things. Lower my depth there as well. And then I'm going to try and just nail this eye section down a little bit, the way I really want it. The eyes on a Hannya are really, really important, I think. And everybody usually tries to go for overly scary, in my opinion, especially in this day and age. I feel like people just really like double down on making it look scary. And to me, that usually kind of looks wrong, because there should be an element of, like a terrifying nature of sorts there. But there should also kind of be a sadness and almost fear in a way too. And these are kind of all, I feel like that's where most Westerners, I say most Westerners, but honestly, I see, no, I'll just kind of relate it to most Westerners. Most Westerners just want to make a Hannya look scary. And I feel like if you're doing that, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of kind of what this story is all about. So this is going to probably be a pretty basic form for the most part of a Hannya. Not going to be the most flashy. I don't feel like I have the most flashy versions of things in general. But the older I get, the less flash I like to put in. I just like to have a really solid drawing, a really solid form and conveying of the ideas that I'm trying to put out there. So I definitely go for less flash these days. And just really try and focus on good form and then good flow. All right, so we're getting some other stuff in here. I feel like this is kind of coming together. I like a lot of the shapes that are kind of going on. And we'll kind of add a little bit as we go. It's funny, I used to watch a lot of Bob Ross when I was younger, and I feel like I'm doing my own Bob Ross kind of interpretation with these sometimes, which is kind of fun. I mean, I don't know, those things were huge for me when I was a kid, because we didn't have a ton of money. My mom did a lot of. She really tried to, do as much as we could with the money that we had, and she put me in a lot of art classes. But there was a lot of stuff we couldn't afford in that realm. So, you know, Bob Ross was sometimes my art teacher. Okay, so we got that a little bit more refined. We're going to take that one back. And I like that overall. I'm probably going to clean it up a little bit more, just to refine a couple shapes. But that'll kind of be it. So we'll kind of take this one down, and then we'll go in black this time. Now this time I'm going to use the mono line, just get that kind of real flat tattoo line. You'll have to excuse me if my head gets in the way here. I normally move my iPad around quite a bit while I'm drawing, but I feel like for the purposes of this, I'm sure it's less distracting for you guys if I don't. So if my head gets in the way here at all, that's why. I also recently got these little pen nib things. I can't remember. It was like a sponsored ad on Instagram. I'm still not 100% sold on them. They make everything a little bit more squishy when you're drawing, which is nice, especially I found so far when you're coloring stuff in, if you're making like prints and stuff, then I like it. But so far I haven't totally loved it for illustrating the line. I feel like sometimes it kind of messes up where I want things a little bit more. So I'm still just experimenting with these. I'm not even entirely sure I like them quite yet. So if my lines seem wobbly and weird, I think that's probably it. And we may take this off halfway through. I also see a lot of younger artists putting in like tons of teeth, multiple teeth and stuff like that. And it's not that that's wrong necessarily, but I would, note that generally if you've got like all the multiple teeth and stuff like that's not really drawing a Hannya. So, I think it is important to note, like really studying like what the thing you're drawing is and what the attributes of it are. Because not everything, just because you think it looks cooler with a bunch of teeth doesn't mean that that's necessarily what that should look like. And, someone out there may say like, oh, well, it can have a million teeth. And, I think that that's completely correct. Once again, with this channel, I really wanted to make sure, like, I'm not the authority on any of this stuff. I'm just I'm an enthusiast who really loves Japanese culture, Japanese tattoo imagery. And so I'm kind of going from my perspective. But I also have had a number of years drawing this stuff. So I feel like that's one thing that I really, I see a lot of younger artists do, that I'm always like, oh, well, that's not necessarily maybe conveying what a Hannya is supposed to look like. So sometimes the best thing is just keeping it pretty traditional in the way you would render it. I mean, I would say instead of looking at tattoos of cool Hannyas that you find interesting and whatnot, you know, go look up real masks. You know, look up the real thing. And there's going to be a lot of stuff, you know, where a lot of people are oftentimes referencing the wrong thing. And there are different female demons too, and there's different demons in general that look similar to a Hannya, but that aren't. And so I think that's an important takeaway. Like, the thing you might be referencing might not be a Hannya at all. You know, there's a lot of similar imagery out there, especially when it comes to Japanese demons and stuff like that. Like, you could definitely be referencing something that is not the thing that you think you're referencing. Anyways, so yeah, we're getting a little bit closer with that. I think I'm gonna take this pen nib off. I feel like my lines are just not what I want them to be right now. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm completely sold on. Like I said, I like those kind of pen nibs for maybe the coloring, but not full on the drawing. Something I thought I'd try. They were cheap. The old Instagram sponsored ad. All right, there's that. You know, I guess that was pretty quick. Only about 15 minutes, so maybe we'll try and do a colored version too. Put this behind here, and then I'm just gonna add a couple more layers. We're gonna delete, or not delete, but just hide that one. So there's the outline though. That's my basic process though of building kind of a Hannya mask. We'll see, or maybe we'll stop and then we'll do the color version, or maybe we'll split it into 2 videos. If not, thanks for looking, and I'll probably do a separate video then for if you want to see the second colored version. All right, bye y'all.